ER and IR verb conjugations in the present tense. Hola amigos, bienvenidos a Spanish Lessons for Me. Me llamo Ángela. Hoy aprenderán cómo conjugar verbos que terminan en er, como comer y beber. Si todavía no viste el video que enseña a conjugar verbos que terminan en ar, te dejo el enlace en la descripción. Si te gusta este video o aprendes algo nuevo, por favor, haz un comentario, dame un me gusta y suscríbete. Eso me ayuda a que el canal crezca. Y es gratis. Mil gracias. Empecemos. First, let's start to review the subject pronouns. This is something that we must know before we begin. So, a little review. Those are your subject pronouns. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted. Usted means you when you are speaking formally to somebody, when you're addressing somebody maybe who outranks you or who you don't know very well. Nosotros, vosotros. It means you all and is used in Spain. Ellos, they, masculine. Ellas, they, feminine. Ustedes means you all and it's used everywhere else except in Spain. Otra vez, repite conmigo. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes. Vamos a hablar de verbos. Let's talk about verbs. All the verbs in Spanish can be categorized into three groups. Verbs that end in ar, verbs that end in er, verbs that end in ir. If you see verbs like this that end in ar, er, or ir, that means they're not conjugated. They're just an infinitive in the most basic form. And in your screen, the ones that you see are cantar, to sing, comer, to eat, vivir, to live. Y hoy vamos a aprender a conjugar los que terminan en er. Today we're going to learn how to conjugate the ones that end in er, and we will conjugate them in the present tense. Let's start with yo. If you remember from the video where you learned how to conjugate AR ending verbs, the ending for yo is o. In essence, you take the infinitive, cantar, you remove the ending, ar, and then you replace it with an o, canto. And that means I sing. The subject pronoun yo is optional because if it ends in o, that means that I am conjugating the verb for yo, for I. So I said that I would only be teaching you how to conjugate the verbs ending in er. However, for yo, I will show you how to conjugate er and ir ending verbs as well. Es muy fácil. It's very easy. As you can see, the ending for yo, for er and ir verbs is o. So if you want to say I eat, como. I live, vivo. As you can see, all of the verbs, no matter what group they're in, whether they end in ar, er, or ir, if you want to conjugate them for yo, the ending that you need to use is o. So easy, right? So now that you know that, go ahead and conjugate the following verbs. Here are three verbs for you. Beber, to drink. Vender, to sell. Comprender, to understand. I'm giving them to you in the infinitive, that is in the most basic form. Go ahead and conjugate them and tell me I drink, I sell, I understand. Remember, all you need to do is change the ending. And hopefully you said bebo, vendo, comprendo. All right. So now that we know how to conjugate all of the verbs for the yo form, let's go ahead and continue with the conjugations of the other subject pronouns. Again, if you remember from the video that teaches you how to conjugate AR ending verbs, you can see those endings right here for cantar. Cantar, to sing. So that would be canto, cantas, canta, cantamos, cantáis, cantan. Now we are using comer. As you can see, the ending for yo is o for both of them, like we've seen in the last couple of slides. What about the rest of them? Well, it's very logic because for cantar, the endings are as, a, amos, ais, an. For cantar, because they end in ar. So therefore, for comer, because they end in er, look at what we changed. The endings would be o, es, e, hemos, eis, en. So if you know the endings for AR ending verbs, then you can figure out the ones that end in er. Because all you need to do is change that A to an I. Yo como, tú comes, él come, nosotros comemos, vosotros coméis, ellos comen. Now I'm showing you the endings just by themselves. You should memorize these. They will always appear in this order when showing you the entire conjugation of a verb. The first three are for yo, tú, él, ella, usted. And then the last three are for nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes. So if I ask you what are the endings for the AR verbs in the present tense, you should be able to say by heart, o, as, a, amos, ais, an. Because if you know that, then you can figure out the ones for ER. O, es, e, hemos, eis, en. All right. Hopefully you've learned that by heart. Let's go ahead and let me show you some other ER ending verbs and some examples. Beber, to drink. Ejemplo, ¿bebes agua? ¿Bebes agua? Notice that I didn't write tú bebes agua. I could have, but I didn't need to because the ending is es and I know that ending is for tú. The subject pronouns are generally optional. That may change for él, ella, usted, or ellos, ellas, ustedes. You might need to clarify it because if I say, for example, bebe agua, and I'm referring to he drinks water, well, you don't know if I'm referring to él or ella. So I might need to just clarify and include my subject pronoun and say él bebe agua or ella bebe agua. Comer, to eat. Ejemplo, comemos pizza. Comemos pizza. Comprender, to understand. Ejemplo, Leo y Lea comprenden. Leo y Lea comprenden. Creer, to believe. ¿Creéis en fantasmas? ¿Creéis en fantasmas? And this is using the vosotros form. If I would be in Latin America, I would say, ¿creen en fantasmas? ¿Creen en fantasmas? Leer, to read. Leo poemas. Leo poemas. Vender, to sell. Ella vende trufas de chocolate. Ella vende trufas de chocolate. Go ahead and take a look at the examples that I have on the screen for you and select the ones that you think are right. Hopefully by now you have memorized the endings, and if not, you can pause the video, memorize the endings, and come back to the activity. Número 1. Ellos vender limonada. Hopefully you said venden. Ellos venden limonada. Número 2. Diego comprender álgebra. Diego comprende álgebra. Número 3. Tú leer mucho. Tú lees mucho. 3 more examples. Número 1. Tú no beber alcohol, ¿no? Tú no bebes alcohol. Número 2. Nosotros creer en Dios. Nosotros creemos en Dios. Ellas no comer brócoli. Ellas no comen brócoli. Muy bien, we've come to the end. Para concluir, ¿recuerdas las terminaciones para los verbos que terminan en er? I'm showing you the ones that end in ar. What are your endings for verbs that end in er? Hopefully you said o es e, hemos, eis, en. And if you do not use vosotros, just skip it. And hopefully you would have said o es e, hemos, en. Eso es todo por hoy, amigos. Antes de terminar, por favor, recuerda regalarme un me gusta y un comentario. Que tengas un lindo día. Hasta el próximo video. Adiós, amigos.